What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News. And I'm in this thing, and I'm here with Mr. I.O.T.B.A. I'm on that bullshit again, in case you wondering what I.O.T.B.A. means. And we're going to talk about some boxing. We have on the chat for our early birds, Big Boss. What's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. Topin Time. Counterpunch. JB in the house. Big Boss off for dessert. Well, come on back. But anyway, guys, we on this thing. And we have I.O.T.B.A. And let's talk about Deontay Wilder, the man of the hour, the man with the plan, supposedly. What's up, brother?
Shout out to my dog, Chris, man. Shout out to Counterpunch Boxing. Salute to everybody in the chat. If y'all don't know, I'm Mr. I.O.T.B.A., Mr. 214, Senor Dos Uno Cuatro, Senor Dos Catorce, Mr. Undeniable, Mr. D Boys can't touch me on my words day. And I appreciate Counterpunch Boxing News for having me on here today to discuss some boxing topics.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, Deontay Wilder, have you guys aware of the $32 million that is rumored to be given to or awarded to Deontay Wilder? What's your takes on that, I.O.T.B.A.?
This is my thing right here. I just don't get it, like how you could push a narrative like that, because this is unprecedented in boxing, to where you hear a guy, they're going to get that, they're going to say he's going to get a full purse to sit out of a fight while two other men fight. I think that's a crock of baloney. I just think the whole entire thing around this situation with Deontay Wilder is people steady trying to throw curveballs. First they was making excuses about this and about that. Now everything anybody ever stated on her of what Deontay Wilder was doing is coming to fruition now. We all said that he didn't want no smoke with Tyson Fury. Look now, it went through mediation. People tried to argue the fact, talking about, oh, well, it's going through mediation. Well, do y'all know what mediation is? Mediation is mediated. That ain't with no courts or no lawyers or nothing like that. That's between individual parties just mediating what the fight is. So I think it's a crock of baloney about that $32 million payout. What you think about that, Kurt?
Well, I mean, it had to come from somewhere. If it's a rumor, where did the rumor start? We heard it from Blue Blood.
The rumor started. Well, I seen a rumor from Blue Blood like you. I seen that from him.
Okay, well, what do you think? You think he created that all by himself, or did he get that from Deontay Wilder or somebody from Wilder's team?
I think he got that. I think he got that from somebody from Wilder's team, but because he inside with them. But it was up to Blue Blood, him as a media person to put out that information like that. If he felt like it was a good story to put out, if he felt like it had some truth to it. And I feel like him putting that story out there, it was just to try to hold face against everything that Deontay Wilder had been doing. They try to say, oh, now he's going to get paid the whole $32 million to sit out. So I think it's a crock of baloney. I think Blue Blood is just reaching on that.
Okay. So you think he made that up, or you think he got that from somebody else?
No, I think he probably got that from Deontay Wilder now, but like it was up for him, to think, like use his common sense to think like when have somebody ever got $32 million to step aside? Like, come on now. And Blue Blood made that decision himself to put that on a platform to try to create this narrative. So everything falls on him because he had a choice. We all got choices in life. He could have chose to think like, man, when have somebody ever got paid $32 million? He should have thought about that before he put it out.
Well, I mean, you're looking at somebody like that actually wants to fight, like Alexander Usyk, and you got Top Rank, you have PBC, them, those guys, PBC, Top Rank, those guys don't have $32 million just to give Deontay Wilder. I mean, for what reason? And it would seem like they would try to get a fight, or at least they would want him to fight for it. At least they can make some of the money back on pay-per-view, on the pay-per-view upside. So that's what it would appear like. Maybe, just maybe, Deontay Wilder is rumored to have that amount of money or trying to get that amount of money because he knows the idea of selling that amount of tickets is really not as helpful because of the things that he's done as shooting down the idea of a fair fight. So, Boxing Finesse, what's up, brother? Counterpunch to you.
Shout out to Boxing Finesse, man. What's popping?
Tay Jones
man, it's just like, why would you put a story out like that? Like, I think that is ridiculous. I think that's like for you to like if you're trying to be respected, like in the media, don't put out bullshit narratives like that talking about Wilder's getting paid the $32 million. There's no way possible that anybody, if you got a right mind, if you've been dialoguing this whole situation that's been going on, that Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder was going to get $32 million to sit out. I think it's a crock of baloney, man. And I think they need to stop. Blue Blood need to stop that. He needs to understand his position in this game.
You're absolutely right, because you look at Packer Fan 12. He said that Tay Jones did an interview with Mr. Titan Channel confirming that the $32 million is bullshit and him and Wilder are laughing at the fake news. So if it didn't come from Wilder and you heard it from Blue Blood, it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, more than likely it's a duck, baby. That's it. The shit came from Blue Blood. You know what I mean? You could rumor to be showing this. I don't know where he came up with that number, calculated that number, but that rumor had to be put to an end. You know what I mean? But again, it's wishful thinking. He wishes Deontay Wilder makes that type of money. But even you got Deontay Wilder, you got Tay Jones, you got Barbershop Conversation. All these guys are saying something contrary to what Blue Blood Sports TV said. So look, they got to get their fucking lies together over there, because now they're looking like
they looking like they just Blue Blood need to understand like what he doing. Like, bro, it's about having integrity in this boxing game, bro. Not because you love this fighter or you want this fighter to do good so bad or whoop-de-whoop, this and this, that and that. It's about having integrity. And I think him putting out this story is showing a lack of integrity for him being so biased towards Deontay Wilder and the situation that Deontay Wilder himself put himself in.
Okay. Well, this is from Car Painter 19. Blue Blood is reporting what the articles put out, not what Wilder said. So where are the articles? So what articles put this out? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm saying, like, where the art? It's like the same thing. Blue Blood was the same one who said Wilder was coming out with some damaging information to show that Tyson Fury cheated. We still ain't seen that shit yet. So how the hell we gonna believe Blue Blood talking about for some fucking articles, reporting on some? He didn't say he was reporting on. He came out stated that Deontay Wilder was getting $32 million, and Blue Blood always like to state, I talked to Deontay Wilder personally, and he told me this. Okay, well, come on now, stop that.
Yeah, because the articles, more like Car Painter 19, more like the sources. See, sources can mean what you've heard. Articles just mean something that everyone could read. Okay, so for shits and giggles.
Yeah, it's like exactly articles that everyone could read. Like we ain't seen no damn articles. I ain't seen no articles. What makes people think that Blue Blood is the only one who's gonna be able to see articles? Because if it's some news in boxing, everybody who really cover the sport of boxing gonna see them articles, and especially when it comes to Deontay Wilder now in his situation, because of what Deontay Wilder put himself in a position when he made all them excuses.
Yeah, Slotello Presents says it's funny and ironic how these dudes be the same people calling AJ gay, yet they dick ride Wilder.
Oh yeah. That's so you see how the ball game changed? Like when the people, was on Anthony Joshua, talking about Anthony Joshua was doing this, Anthony Joshua was doing it, they called him all types of names. And some of these dudes, they, And you know the main reason why Anthony Joshua got criticism? Because he was with his white promoter in Eddie Hearn. And I used to be like, damn.
That doesn't make
No,
sense.
But that's what I'm saying, because Deontay Wilder had a white promoter. He had a white manager. Like, so it's crazy how they used to come at Eddie Hearn. Well, why y'all ain't coming to Deontay Wilder, Shelly Finkel and them?
Well, I mean, that's that. And, you know, that's the $1 million question, ain't it? That's
it's like you just see the narrative they push. They try to discredit Anthony Joshua, say this and say that. Well, what about Wilder? What about all these excuses? Where's the proof at? You know, because listen, I want everybody to know this. Deontay Wilder, he really thought he was a god. He really thought he was like a fighter fighting in the Rome days where you really got to fight for your life. He really truly believed, like, I knew this dude was a little delusional when I seen an interview with him and Barbershop Conversation. They was talking to a pastor, and Deontay Wilder had the nerve to say, talking about, my grandmama anointed me, and I believe that. I'm like, so what? So you think you is him now? You really think you could walk on water? You know, you was the same guy who put Dylan White through all hoops, and he still ain't got no fight. And you see how the ball game changed now back on Deontay Wilder? That's when I seen your video the other day when you said about him, Wilder getting froze out.
Well, yeah, that's what White implied. Yeah, that's what he implied.
I truly believe now Deontay Wilder is finna get froze out. He'll never see a fight against Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, in my opinion. And then this is the thing right here too. Go ahead.
No, but I mean, he might not fight those guys. He might be getting chopped down to size. You know, he may get a Dillian White fight. But
why would Dillian White fight him there though? You know, like, this is the same dude who called Dylan White a peasant. The nerve of that bird, coward American, and Deontay Wilder to call Dylan White a peasant, bro. Well, he called that fucking dude a peasant, bro. And like that shit rubbed me the wrong way. Because the audacity that this man had did everything he was supposed to do to get put into his position to fight you, and you played him, and then you called him a peasant? The nerve of that bird.
Well, I think he was just smelling himself. Wilder, you know, he's, remember what we talked about with Wilder, you know, and Hayes praising him for being a pretty decent boxer, this, that, and the other. And the way he did box Bermane Stiverne. He stayed, if you think about Deontay Wilder, the way he boxed Bermane Stiverne is the same way. That's comparable, let's put it this way, to what Anthony Joshua did to Andy Ruiz in the second fight. You see what I'm saying? There were no knockdowns. There were some punches that were thrown. Yeah, he wings his shots, but he was keeping Bermane Stiverne at bay. He was fighting tall. He was using his jab. Okay, that's what he was doing. Anthony Joshua was doing the same thing. So here's the thing. I think at some point, and Deontay Wilder got in his mind that I don't have to do what I've been practiced or trained to do. I don't have to do that no more. I can just look for that right hand because I'm that powerful. And then he started saying shit like, hey, if you have power, you don't need skill. So I think he didn't even really, he disregarded what he was being taught every day. That's why I think him and Mark Breland bumped heads, honestly. I think they bumped heads. I think that the reason why he really fired Mark Breland was he needed a good enough reason to get him out of there, which that was a piss poor on saying he spiked his water, but he needed a reason to get Mark Breland out of his corner, especially after he took an L. So somebody got to pay for it. To me, it's no different from what Andy Ruiz did. The only difference was Andy Ruiz in public stated, oh, it's his fault and he partied and drank and ate too much and all that shit, but then went back and then fired Manny Robles. Deontay Wilder fired Mark Breland damn near on the spot, supposedly. So, because, you know, we don't know about that either. You know what I'm saying? So, D-Town Blaster, what's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. Appreciate the super chat. Everybody's doing good, I hope. But I think with Wilder, as far as Wilder goes, Wilder needs to pick himself back up. He needs to fight the best guys out there, and the best guys are not the guys that he can fight right now, though. He can't fight Anthony Joshua. He lost his opportunity with Tyson Fury, and not in that damn order. You know, he had that Anthony Joshua fight. You know, right after the Tyson Fury fight, he should have took that draw and moved on. But instead, he was, hey, you know, I want to fight Fury again because he thought that was the easier route. And again, he might have not been allowed to fight Anthony Joshua due to the fact that Shelly Finkel was managing Vladimir Klitschko and himself, and Joshua beat Vladimir Klitschko, something that Joshua did not supposed to do. Okay, so.
And you know what's crazy though, Kurt? It's hard. Like, I understand what you're saying about Deontay Wilder need to pick himself back up. But the first thing Deontay Wilder needs to do is accept the fact that he lost this fight. He needs to look himself in the mirror and come to reality, I lost this fight. If Deontay Wilder don't come to reality that he lost this fight, it ain't going to do nothing but go even more downhill for Deontay Wilder. Because with him still having them thoughts, oh, Tyson Fury did this, Tyson Fury did that, oh, my disloyal trainer spiked some in my water, oh, but my other trainer and Jay Diaz was in there watching them when they was wrapping his hands up, but oh, I'm saying they put egg weights in my gloves. Deontay Wilder, before he could pick himself up, this coward of an American, he needs to come out and accept that he lost. You know, I really got a problem with this guy, Deontay Wilder. You know, you can have excuses about losers because it's people around the world who are sore losers. But right. For him to do Mark Breland the way he did Mark Breland and make Mark Breland a scapegoat, you know, that's irreconcilable to me on Deontay Wilder and him as a person of his character. He is a guy who I see now, he always going to point the fingers instead of accept something he did himself.
Well, I think at this point, what you need to understand about Deontay Wilder, he's not that guy. He's not a guy that's going to admit that he's wrong. He's not that way. He's not fucking humble. He's not appreciative. He's bitter, and I don't know if he's delusional or not, but obviously he's unapologetic. He's ate too much of the sauce. He's not gonna admit that he lost. So I think he will always be mentally sabotaging. Kamal, what's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. You know, so I think Wilder's a guy, he will never admit to anyone that he lost that fight. Because as long as there's something else that he can, or someone can blame and put as a reason or an excuse, in this case, it's an excuse because he lost, he will never be the same. The only thing that he can do now, hopefully they can stop talking about him and Tyson Fury so we can focus more on Fury and Joshua and have Wilder to continue the rest of his career if he's going to continue it, which I hope he does. Okay.
I mean, we all hope he continue his career, but it's just like this with me with Wilder. He found Mark Breland for doing his job correctly. Right. Shout out to all the people from the UK, right? Mm-hmm. You know, because it was a fight over there, Nigel Ben, and shout out to Gerald McLean and his wife. You know who you know, we conversate on Facebook. So shout out to Gerald McLean and his wife. You know, think about the situation that happened with Nigel Ben and Gerald McLean, right?
Right.
You know, if Mark Breland wouldn't have stopped that fight like he did, it's no telling the way Tyson Fury was painting his fucking face like a Picasso, how Deontay Wilder would have ended up being, right? Another thing, I want to say thank you, Tyson Fury. Thank you for coming out and saying that you will never fight that race-baiting Deontay Wilder again. You know, for the things that he said about your people, and plus for the way he tarnished your name and tried to say you was a cheater. I really appreciate Tyson Fury for that, because see, he took a stand. Like you say, I cheated. You called out my people, this and that. You know, screw you, dude.
Well, I mean, he's always been race baiting. He's been race baiting since he found out it sells tickets. Think about what I'm saying. when Deontay Wilder, when he had that breakdown, that was a breakdown. He had that breakdown and he exploded on Radio Raheem when Radio Raheem was asking him a fucking question. He was just asking him a question about what he said. This is look. Let me tell you about journalism. Okay, journalism works like this. Journalism, just like Brian Custner said, right? They ask you questions they ask you questions on the statement, so they requote what you said. Okay, so when Deontay Wilder went off on Tyson Fury, and he put his finger in Tyson Fury's eye, got a little scuffle and shit. I don't think it was purposely, but the guy was scuffling. So what are you gonna do? But Radio Raheem was asking him about that particular incident that just happened, maybe about 5-10 minutes before they were interviewing him.
Mm-hmm.
And Radio Raheem was like, "Well, hey, you said, quote, you said your people been fighting for 400 years." That's when Deontay Wilder snapped. That's when he snapped. Because he thought that Radio Raheem, because he didn't understand that Radio Raheem was only quoting him just like journalists do. If that had been fucking Connie Chung talking to a Korean cat and she would have said the same thing, it would have made no difference. People wouldn't have looked at that in that way. You know what I mean? Connie Chung, she's Korean, bro. I don't know if she's still around, but I know she was a reporter, right? So let's just say, well, hey, yeah, you said your people been fighting and this, that, and the other, and then he'd have said some shit like that. Same difference. But what took place after that when he came and he, to this day, right? When he did that,
to the day,
right? The way he replied or he commented that it was the way he responded. It got a lot of people's attention that had nothing to do with boxing. That's where you had people like Rihanna was like, okay, well, what's this about? Beyonce's always been a boxing fan. She's a fan of Manny Pacquiao, but you had all types of people, that became involved in this particular fight when normally they weren't. So once that was apparent, think about how the first fight went versus the second fight. Okay, all those people that didn't show up, that weren't going to show up, showed up, because now it became something else. It wasn't just a boxing match. Now it was a boxing match between a gypsy, a white guy, and Deontay Wilder, the champion, a black guy. And the black guy felt that he was disrespected by the reporter, which was a coon, and Tyson Fury was talking about imposing on his people, and he was telling him about how bad his people were and how they were bad, they were treated. So it became like a racial divide at that point. So why do you think he came in the rematch with a fucking costume like that and on Black History Month and brought history into it? He brought that shit into it because he knew that it would sell, and it sold.
It was
It's fucking performance. He got beat up. Okay, he got beat up badly, and it made the whole premise and the whole intention of what he tried to exploit go down the fucking drain. You told Tyson Fury he's going to be a black African American trivia question. Now I get it. You know what I mean? And that was bad. Why would he have to do that? But so he brought that in there because he knew it would sell, and he knows, hey, I was cheated, and what he then, and what happened? They compared Louis Resto and Billy Collins and Margarito and Cotto and the Margarito Mosley incident and all that. They compared those situations to Tyson Fury because they wanted to put an idea of people that are not intelligent in the same category. Like somebody wanted to paint you a bad fucking person or a dictator, right? They wanted to paint you a dictator. They were going to put, okay, Mr. I.O.T.B.A, you know what? You're no different than Fidel Castro, Adolf Hitler. You're no different from them. So if they associate you with those two names, pretty soon people, again, less intelligent, are going to associate your name with those guys' name. Why? Because if you make 4 or 5 fucking videos every day about that, people are going to associate that. Man, you know, I.O.T.B.A, that's that Fidel Castro-like dude that like to dictate people. But he like a Adolf Hitler, man, he real terrible. Why? Because that's what they've been doing over there. They've been comparing Luis Resto and Margarito situation. And even that Floyd Maidana, which that had nothing to do with any of that shit. Floyd had to pay Maidana $2 million for him not to wear them gloves. Counterpunch. See, they won't tell you that shit. They're going to talk about that. But again, they want to give you, they want to paint this picture almost like some fucking lawyers. I don't know why all these guys, they ain't trying to get their fucking go take a bar test and trying to be lawyers, because, you know, they seem to know what they're talking about to a certain degree, until, you know, it's big shit that they miss. But they all of a sudden got to the point where, hey, yeah, this wasn't right about the first fight. This wasn't right about the second fight. Oh man, the wild boar meet with with Carefoot. So for all we know, where the fuck Carefoot come out from? Why did he just now pop up after 5 years of exile? You know, that's a bunch of shit by itself.
You know what? Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Radio Raheem. I was just discussing that. It's like, have you noticed the methods of Deontay Wilder? First, he tried to throw Radio Raheem under the dirt, right? Then think about it. He said something about Kenny Bayless too, or whatever. I think if he was talking about Kenny Bayless or that first ref in the first fight when he came out, when he came out talking about a disloyal trainer or a referee was trying to do this. And then Mark Breland. It's
like he talked about both of them, right?
Okay, yeah, so look, you know what's crazy? He put out this persona, right? I hate this about these fight the power ass dudes, like, who try to put out this bullshit persona, right? About how you so for your black people. I ain't with none of this. I'm for everybody. You hear me? Like, straight up. So when he put that bullshit out like that, and then his actions show him firing the black man, talking about the black referee, you know, but you keep the white man, and I know I'm just going off how Deontay Wilder based himself, but you keep the white man who was in the dressing room, who you said Tyson Fury had egg weights in his gloves, who was smiling from cheek to cheek while he was in there in this serious moment in y'all fight. I don't get this guy. I don't get how people don't see.
You know who was smiling from cheek to cheek? Jay Diaz was.
That's Jay Diaz. That's what I'm saying. Jay Diaz was he was in the dressing room, smiling from cheek to cheek. And Deontay Wilder claimed that this dude had egg weights in his gloves. So if that man looked like he was in there having a good time in this serious moment in his career, you know what Deontay Wilder said? You know what this big old dummy said? He said he scolded Jay. You scolded him? Hold up. Didn't you show the side of your face and say you had a dent in it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You scolded him, but Mark Breland got fired. Like, this dude right here is a total and another thing too, with Mark Breland, just like to try to put dirt and tarnish this man's character the way he did. That's a total disservice to Mark Breland and who he is as a man, for Deontay Wilder just not to accept that you lost a motherfucking fight. Look, and this is what throws me out. Shout out to everybody here on Counterpunch Boxing. You hear me? This will fuck me up, everybody on Counterpunch Boxing. Deontay Wilder, he only lost one fight. Look, just one fucking fight. It wasn't lost. It wasn't like that was his 10th fight he fucking lost. It was just one fight. Check this out. This dude had been champion for 5 years. Matter what we think, this motherfucker was the champion for 5 years and had 10 title defenses where his 10 title defense standing him next tied with Muhammad Ali. And for just him losing one motherfucking time, he make all these excuses, do all this, and he pissing all that away. Because we ain't thinking about his 10 title defenses, him being standing next to Muhammad Ali, or him having a WBC for 5 years. We thinking about these bullshit ass excuses he made. And he pissed all his accomplishments that he did. He didn't piss them away where it's not like they didn't happen. But he pissed them away in reality where we ain't thinking about that. We thinking about you lost one fucking fight and you do all this over one loss.
Well, you're right. He's definitely painting over all the success of the things that people tried to, to hype him up with. Because we can talk about the 10 title defenses. Who are they against? You got Ortiz twice, Bavern twice. Okay, that's 4. Who else? Spilka, 5.
Yeah.
Gerard Washington, 6. Dominic Brazil, 7.
Bald-headed white dude who gave Deontay Wilder a good fight.
Who's that?
Like I'm saying, yeah, like it ain't no good, like it ain't the best competition. But when my point was like he did all of that, and he pissing it all away for just one loss. Accept that shit like a motherfucking man. Like, who is this guy? This is a guy before he lost one fight who was all in the pictures, all in the videos. This is the same guy who did an interview on the Breakfast Club and stated, "I want to get me a body. I really do." What the fuck did you just say? And then look, Kurt, this is why I got on Blue Blood and how foolish he was, right? This dude gonna have the audacity to say on there, talking about Deontay Wilder told his team, had his team sign contracts saying, let him go on his shield. If he say he want to kill a man in the ring, well, then he willing to die in the ring. That's when I knew that Deontay Wilder wasn't mentally stable. Because you got to be a stupid motherfucker to have your team sign contracts to let you die in the ring. It's like Deontay Wilder. You forgot you got 5 or 6 children out here, bro. So you just want to be a selfish motherfucker like that and say, oh, just let me die in the ring and let my kids grow up by this. That's the most foolish shit any motherfucker can say.
Well, I mean, at this point, foolish or not, true or not, because we don't know how true that shit is. I mean, it's in the contract. He told Brian Custer, he said, well, he told everyone and he knows one of the rules is never to stop a fight. Okay, he said that. I don't know if it's in the contract or whatever. I can tell you this. Whoever beats that ass the next time, if that time comes, that's going to be a real ass beating. So hopefully he won't get what he think he wants. Okay, so he figures he wants a body in the ring and all this shit, that, and the other. But, in hindsight, you better hope someone like Dillian White don't hurt you when he starts mauling you like a fucking polar bear. You better hope that ain't the case, because that's what it is.
Hey, Counterpunch, I don't believe in this guy no more. I don't believe in Deontay Wilder. I don't think, his mental should show everybody where he at with this. I don't believe in this guy. Him against any top competition, I don't believe he could win. He's going to have to show me that he can win. Because at the end of the day, I told you, when you can't accept that you lost a fight, that means you haven't moved on for that. That means it's still in the back of your mind, whoop-de-whoop, whoop-de-whoop. And we can see the excuses in the way Deontay Wilder is acting is really unstable. If you're really looking at this dude and everything he's doing, it's really unstable. I don't see this guy competing with the top guys anymore because he's still holding on to that excuse in his mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going to get what he's asking for, because if he continues to the sport of boxing, we don't know a lot about what's going on with Wilder these days. But if it's true what Tate Jones said to Tariq, whatever the name is, Titan or whatever. So if if that's true, they should clear up the rumors. You know what I mean? They shouldn't have let that go the way it is. And it's just funny how if something's not true, you won't really address it Wilder, he believes that Mike Breland spiked his water, right? Well, you know that Jay Diaz, if you know that you were cheated against Tyson Fury, you know that Jay Diaz didn't do his job. So you just got a scorn. He just got a scorning or whatever, or he got a stern talking to.
Damn.
I mean, that doesn't fucking match up the fuck up. It doesn't match up the fuck up. If that makes sense. Right?
It don't match up the fuck up.
The stern talking to versus, hey, I'm gonna fire you. You should have fired them both. That would have made more sense if you based on what you believe, But
hey, Kurt, you stated earlier. They was asking for McCracken. Can you go in on that?
Asking McCracken what?
They were saying fire McCracken. Remember, you were stating that when it came to Anthony Joshua.
They wanted to sack McCracken. They wanted people to sack McCracken. Yeah. I mean, they wanted it when Anthony Joshua took that L, they wanted to get rid of Rob McCracken. And what Anthony Joshua could have done, he could have fired McCracken. He could have fired McCracken. But what he did, he brought in Fernandez on top of McCracken. Maybe that's just, for loyalty standards, but they needed someone that was going to teach him new dynamics, not the same old. Lennox Lewis said it best. Lennox Lewis was like, you can't get someone to graduate from college with a third grade education or a third grade training. You know what I'm saying? So he in fact, a lot of people thought he needed to sack McCracken, but I dug further into that. And Rob McCracken wasn't, because Jonathan Banks mentioned, the instruction that Rob McCracken was telling him was wrong. Well, I was hearing that conversation on the instruction rather, on what Rob McCracken wanted AJ to do. Keep him long with the 1-2. That's not nothing wrong. That's fuck what he did the whole fight and the next fight. Okay, he kept them long. He used his jab. He fought tall. He didn't fight like a fucking short guy. See, a lot of times Joshua fights like Mike Tyson. You can't fight like fucking Mike Tyson and you're damn near 7 foot tall. Okay, it's not gonna work. Especially fighting someone short like Mike Tyson, like Andy Ruiz. You're just gonna go in there and get battered, especially someone like Andy Ruiz that has fast hands that can throw them bows. So that's what it is.
And this is my thing right here, Kurt.
What's up?
This is my thing right here. Like, my point was meant because you made a great point with that. Like, that's like Anthony Joshua didn't blame his trainer, for him losing. This is the difference between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Anthony Joshua didn't run from it. He ran to it. Right. He could have easily listened to what the public was saying. He could have, because Anthony Joshua, a big time star, the biggest heavyweight, one of the biggest stars, if possibly not the biggest star in boxing. He made a lot of money. He could have been arrogant. He could have took his loss and blamed his trainer and made up excuses and did that. But this is the difference. He didn't do none of that. Anthony Joshua gave Andy Ruiz his credit when Andy Ruiz beat him. Anthony Joshua didn't say, this and this about the rematch. Oh, they cheated. Oh, I was set up. Woo. Anthony Joshua didn't run from it. He ran to it. That's the big difference. That's why I say with Deontay Wilder, look at him, fire his trainer. Like, it ain't nobody in his camp who got a mustard seed of knowledge compared to Mark Breland. Then you hear this delusional ass dude in Deontay Wilder. There was rumors out there he was bringing Malik Scott in. That's when I knew he really needed a fucking evaluation, if that was true.
Well, yeah, you talking about his diving buddy. They go diving together. Took a dive for him back in the day. Oh, man.
The biggest dive in history. The biggest dive in history. Yeah, Deontay Wilder, look. He always talking about to this day, Deontay Wilder, everything that you represented. You talking about you was for your black people and all the black kids looking up to you. What they looking up to? They looking up to somebody who was a sore fucking loser. That's what they looking up to, a guy who make excuses. What type of fucking example is that? And I'm going to keep asking you that, Deontay Wilder, to this day.
Well, I mean, what kind of role models you want to have a body in the ring? So that means you want to kill everybody in competition with? That's not a good role model to look after, you know, but I don't think Wilder won't be that guy because Wilder is not that guy. I keep telling you, he's not that fucking guy. He's not that role model kind of cat. He's not. He's a guy that's only going to reach certain viewers and certain interests. You know, look, guys that follow him wants Javon Sugar Hill to burn up in a car fire. Those are the kind of dudes that follow Deontay Wilder. Oh, you didn't hear that? That's what Drew Titan said.
Damn.
Do you see the appeal? The appeal of someone that thinks like that. Those are the type of people that like to follow Deontay Wilder because they cater to the same mindset until they get their ass beat. Then it's a totally different story. WDE, what's up, brother? Great live stream. Appreciate the super chat, bro. Heavyweight boxing, CP. You said AJ needs to fire him. Exactly. When that fight was over, and I heard based on Jonathan Banks, what he said about Rob McCracken, the things that he heard Rob McCracken say, I had to read or listen to what Rob McCracken was saying for myself. Now, did I hear what Jonathan Banks said? No, I didn't. I heard what Rob McCracken was instructing AJ, just like I just told you. Okay, and that wasn't anything bad. It didn't seem like anything like a shitty instruction or something that he shouldn't be doing in there against Andy Ruiz. Not saying he didn't say it, not calling Jonathan Banks a liar. All I can tell you is what I heard. And what I heard Rob McCracken say, it was on the money, especially after he got hurt. Fuck it, before he got hurt. Keep him long with the jab, with the 1-2. That's what he was telling him. Don't exchange, don't engage, fight tall. That's what that means. Keep him long means fight tall. Okay, heavyweight boxing? All right, let's move on. But no, as far as Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, they're two different people. They might have been born in October and they're both Libras and all that shit, but the only thing they got in common is just that. They're not the same people. You want to compare success and all that other shit. It's like comparing a watermelon to a grape. So let's fucking move on. ERROL the True Spence. I'm glad I got you on here because you are an avid were an avid ERROL the True Spence fan, being from the same area. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you not a fan of Errol Spence no more? Or not like you used to be? What changed?
See, the thing is, Errol Spence, he just didn't, you know how these boxers, you know how they sit up here, they want us to respect the job they do. Well, you know, y'all got to respect my job I do, you know. Just because we are from the same city, that's cool. But if I got to address something about you, you got to respect that. So that's the problem with these fighters out here. And that was a lesson to be learned. That's why I'm not a fan of none of these fighters no more. I'm a fan of boxing. You know, that's what I had to learn. That when you put these fighters on their back, it's all good. But then when you criticize them, then you don't know shit and you ain't shit. You know. But my thing with Errol Spence is now, because who cares how he feels, you know. One thing about I.O.T.B.A, we're gonna let the truth come to the power and the power come to the truth. You feel me? And Errol Spence he's clearly ducking Terrence Crawford. He clearly don't want that smoke with Terrence Crawford. And it's crazy. I want everybody to understand me on this. Who is this new guy in Errol Spence, right? Remember that guy Errol Spence came onto the scene? He said, oh, I want to fight everybody, the Olympian. high prospect. He said he wasn't going to do like all these other fighters did. He said that's why the people out here love me. That's why the fans like me, because they know I ain't going to do all this. Now look at Errol Spence. He doing everything that he said that he wasn't going to do. He have turned into them, or he have been worse. I want y'all to understand. Terrence Crawford came in this division June 2018. First fight, became champion against Jeff Horn. It is going on. It is 2021, damn near 3 years later. And we still have no fight. First, Errol Spence tell him before he get in the video, go get a belt. He went and got that belt. Then they meet up in Oklahoma. Why would I fight you when I can take the easy road out? Then I want everybody to understand me when I say this shit right here. Like, Terrence Crawford showed up the Errol Spence fight. Look, respect to everyone, and my condolences to everyone who this pandemic, Corona, done affected in this pandemic. My condolences to everybody who done lost someone, or if you've been affected by that, my condolences. Terrence Crawford, he came down here to this fight. Look, this dude got a wife, and he have like 5 or 6 children. During this fucking pandemic, he showed, like, during this y'all got to understand, he came down here to this fight during this fucking pandemic, and to get spit in the face by Errol Spence to say, I ain't thinking about no Terrence Crawford. I'm talking about in the worst times we have ever lived in, Terrence Crawford showed up, had a wife and 5 kids. That showed you that he wanted this fight. And then for Errol Spence to spit in his face and spit in boxing fans' faces, talking about I ain't thinking about no Terrence Crawford. You talking about arrogant. Who is this guy?
Well, I mean, so Errol Spence changed your mind because when was the breaking point for you with Errol Spence? Is it that time?
Yeah, when Terrence Crawford, like the thing was when I said Terrence Crawford, the new boogeyman in the welterweight division, because, as time go on in divisions or in boxing, there is a new boogeyman. And, after Errol Spence did all that, like he sending Terrence Crawford through so many obstacles. And it seemed like now the new narrative is now, they saying 60-40. But so y'all going to this one now. But what about the first thing he ever told Terrence Crawford to do before he got in welterweight? Go get a belt.
Well, let me counterpunch you
on that. When that situation right there started happening, you got to address it, and we got to keep that same energy whether I'm from the same city or not. That's what these fighters need to understand. You just got to respect my job. I do. You want us to respect y'all? Well, respect my job. I do.
Okay, fair enough. Let me counter that now. And it wasn't, first of all, it wasn't 60-40 to last. It was 70-30 or whatever they wanted to give them. That was the last thing. However, this is my theory on this with Errol Spence. Errol Spence told Terrence Crawford that, I remember when he said that, go get a belt, then we can talk. So he got a belt like he told him. Well, I got a belt. Now what? What did Keith Thurman tell Errol Spence when Errol Spence was coming up?
Did he tell him go get a belt?
The same shit. Exactly. The same shit. Keith Thurman told him the same shit. Go get a belt. And he got a belt. Okay? And he got a belt and the fight still didn't happen. Look, it's all diversions. It's all smoke screens. These guys don't want to fight. And I think what happens, these guys felt that they were ducked, and all they learn how to fucking do is duck. They learn how to do what the last person did to them. It's like a vicious, nasty ass cycle. Okay? A vicious cycle. And that's what we're dealing with. From Mayweather to Keith Thurman to Errol Spence. Okay, so this is what's happening with these fighters. Everyone wants to be like Mayweather. It all started at Mayweather. Mayweather was that guy that was being hounded by Keith Thurman, like I was telling you, and Keith Thurman wanted that smoke. He was 19-0. You better not duck me, son. That particular guy, he's telling everybody that. You better not duck me, son. He was telling that to Paulo Malignaggi. He was telling that to whoever, Amir Khan. He was telling that to Floyd Mayweather. He was telling that. And you know what Floyd did? Floyd had a hot prospect by the name of Errol Spence, okay? And Errol Spence just gave him some of the business and sparring, and he thought about it. You know what? We're not going to do that. He's not a good enough fighter. He ain't made no money. He ain't made no money. I can't make no money fighting Keith Thurman. So you know what? You need to fight Errol Spence. That's why Errol Spence and Keith Thurman were linked up, because he paired them up. Why? Because he promoted that fight due to the fact he didn't want that fight from Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman seen. He went through that shit. He was like, dude, I'm way past where Errol Spence is trying to go. I've already been. Why the fuck would I have to fight him? Okay. So Errol Spence did the waiting game. Okay. And it had nothing to do with Al Haymon. It had nothing to do with any of that at that time. It had everything to do with waiting your turn. Whereas Terrence Crawford, he's really shit out of luck over there, because he's coming from top rank from Mr. Bob Arum. You think he's going to get any love from the PBC and Al Haymon? No, that's not going to work. It's not going to happen. Scants Rants 2, 3 years later, and Crawford still fighting nothing but bums. Okay, well, is fucking Kell Brook a bum? Errol Spence fought him. Okay, who else did he beat? Sean Porter, a split decision. All right. Who else did he fight? Danny Garcia. Who the fuck is Danny Garcia beating in the welterweight division worth of shit? Okay, come on now. We got to be real about it, Scants Rants. Let's go. I mean, who else did he fight? That's Errol Spence's fucking resume right there. You had a close fight with Sean Porter, and you beat the shit out of Danny Garcia, but so has everyone else. And you beat up a fucking broke-eyed Kell Brook after Kell Brook had already been defeated. So, I mean, it would be different if Errol Spence would have beat Kell Brook when he was undefeated. That's one thing, but it wasn't that thing. So we can't give someone for credit that they didn't do. Okay, so that's the whole gist of Errol Spence. Errol Spence hasn't fought anyone. He was never a fucking junior welterweight. He's too big for that. That's why people call him a weight bully. And to answer to your question, I.O.T.B.A, why do I want to see a Canelo fight? Because the first time I.O.T.B.A, the first time Errol Spence would be fighting somebody his fucking size. He's too big, man. I mean, you never heard that saying, weight bully? You never heard someone call Errol Spence a weight bully?
I did.
You know Errol Spence more than anybody else. You hang out with dudes from your place. And I stop Triple G. I stop Canelo. I stop. Hell, I stop on God. I stop him. He'll stop him because he figures he can, because he knows those guys are his size. You see what I'm saying? That's exactly what happens. See, so yeah, I want to see him do that. I mean, fuck, little ass Mikey Garcia went up to fight him. Like, he can't go up and fight anybody else. I mean, look at it. Look where it's at. We got a guy that's sitting there. Yeah, I fight Mikey Garcia, but hell, I got to fight Terrence Crawford. What he want? What he doing in my venue? What do he want? He want to fight, bitch. That's what he wants. Well, I don't need to fight Terrence Crawford. Well, he ain't got no money. He don't make no money. Him and his bald-headed, ugly, fucking chisel-faced ass trainer he got over there. Fucking, fuck out of here, man.
And you know it's crazy. You know it's crazy. Who is this Scant Rants? Let me holler at you, Scant Rants, too. I hate dudes like you who get on here talking about Crawford in 3 years, Crawford ain't fought nothing but bums. Yeah, it's quick for a motherfucker like you to say that. But when have one of them motherfuckers over there ever afforded Terrence Crawford the opportunity? You niggas up here talking about who have he fought? Shit, when he asked Keith Thurman to fight him, Terrence Crawford not in my plans, right? Danny Garcia got over fucking $3 million. That would have been the most money he ever fucking made in his career, dummy. Do you hear me? Errol Spence sent him through the 10,000 obstacle, and he still ain't got no fight. Now when it's Sean Porter, remember? They were brothers. We're happy and we're singing and we're colors. Give me a high five, looking ass nigga. That's what they was at first. You hear me? Oh, now look, now hold up. People talking about why he won't fight. Why he won't fight Sean Porter? Hold the fuck up. Hold up. I hate when you niggas do this shit. Because when Sean Porter was the WBC champion, dummies, he had a choice. He could have fought Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence. He chose to fight Errol Spence. Terrence Crawford and him wasn't even talking about fighting or wasn't on no radar. Oh, now, since he loses fucking belt, and he thirsty. He see, oh, damn, yeah, he my friend, but he got that belt over there. Oh, now you want to fight Terrence Crawford. But when you was champion, you didn't want to put you chose to fight Errol Spence. Now, hold on, let me say this. People talking about $1 million was a low ball for Sean Porter. How the fuck was that a low ball for him? We talking about a dude who ain't even fucking champion. What the fuck is y'all talking about? He ain't even champion. You telling me $1 million was low ball for him and a guy who ain't even fucking champion? Man, you better get the fuck up out of here with that dumbass retarded shit.
Well, let me counter because you know Bob Arum is known to be lowballing fighters. You know, because you think about it, if he knows, and Bob Arum's not an idiot, he knows that Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence are rivals. He knows this. So why would you give a fighter or offer a fighter half the amount of money that the rival was awarded? I understand he was a champion at the time. I get it. He's the WBC champ. Now you can chop that up with that. However, he's still a top fighter. So if the whole idea was to get Sean Porter in the ring or to get Terrence Crawford in with a fighter that is just that imperative for that, but Terrence Crawford to fight those guys, that means Bob Arum has to do sacrifices. But what's the fucking problem? The sacrifices comes from the fact that Bob Arum has already given Terrence Crawford too many sacrifices because he feels that Terrence Crawford was overpaid. So maybe, just maybe, it ain't about Sean Porter at all. It's about Terrence Crawford. So a cheapskate like fucking Bob Arum will already say, well, I'm already paying fucking Terrence Crawford too much money. Here, take this $1 million, Sean Porter, and shut the fuck up. Right? That's how I'm thinking Bob Arum's doing because he's not going to risk a fight with that if he's already overpaying the pound for pound best fighter in the world, which really, who says that shit on public TV?
Yeah, but look, I think it was a little distasteful to say. I think it was distasteful, like to say he could have worded it a different way when he said that. But was it truth behind it? Absolutely. How isn't he losing money on Terrence Crawford when now one of these guys don't even want to fight him? And another thing, when you say $1 million, when people say $1 million is low ball, how? Now, when he got that money with Errol Spence, he was the champion. So when you were a champion, you were supposed to get compensated better in that fight. Sean Porter, you ain't no champion no more, dog. Remember, Errol Spence was the same one who said Sean Porter couldn't sell out a chicken dinner. So now, since you're not champion, I don't feel like $1 million is a low ball. You know, I feel like when you're champion, you get compensated more. You're not champion, so you should be compensated like you're still a fucking champion, dude.
The belt should mean something, and if he didn't have a belt,
you know what's crazy, Counterpunch? You know what's crazy, right. Counterpunch? Everybody always try to blame Bob Arum. I understand Bob Arum may have done some shit, but it's like, damn, why is all the blame going on to Bob Arum? Let's talk about Al Haymon. This motherfucker deserves a lot of blame for what's going on. Because let's talk about this right here, Counterpunch. Remember when Charles Martin was the champion and he went over there to fight Anthony Joshua?
Yep.
Wasn't Deontay Wilder the champion too at the same time?
Yep.
So you know what fucking excuse I'm tired of hearing, Counterpunch? This motherfucker said, oh, they gave him more money to go over there and fight Anthony Joshua.
They did.
That don't make no sense. But look, it don't make no sense to me though. Because at the end of the day, if you got the belts in your stable, Al Haymon could have came up with that money to to give Charles Martin so Deontay Wilder could have had 2 belts. Al Haymon them felt like Deontay Wilder probably wasn't ready for that Charles Martin fight because they were steady trying to build him up to get him that big Anthony Joshua fight. So they let that fight go over there. I don't want to hear motherfuckers talking about money. Because if Al Haymon...
Hold on. But here's the thing, though. It's easier to say that shit to a person that don't make money. What's nothing minus fucking nothing?
It's nothing, but I'm saying no. I ain't disagreeing with that. Like that was a lot of money, but if Al Haymon them could have did the same thing. But my thing is, I'm saying they felt like Deontay Wilder wasn't ready for Charles Martin. That's why they let him go. Because think about it, they ain't finna let down one of their other. I ain't seen none of the, like something like that happen. He let that belt go from PBC over there. They could have paid their money if they wanted to keep that belt in house, or if they felt like Deontay Wilder could beat him. My question is why they let that go over there when Al Haymon knew he could have paid Charles Martin that same amount of money to stay here, and Deontay Wilder could have had 2 belts.
No, but because this is what you don't understand. If they paid fucking Charles Martin, okay, for shits and giggles, if they got an offer from Team Joshua, they want to offer him, what was it, $8 fucking million?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, coming from a fighter that their budget was to paying this man $500,000, $800,000, $900,000, then you got a guy from a totally different country that's offering you fucking that's only 10% of what they're offering you. $900,000? Dude, that ain't, matter of fact, that ain't even 10%. It's like 2%. You can't compare what Wilder made versus what they could have gave Charles Martin. Why? Because if they gave Charles Martin, if Charles Martin says, hey, they offer me $8 million, they would gladly tell him, well, you got to take it because we don't pay our champion that much. See, even if they could give him $8 million for the IBF belt, why would they do that? They're not giving Deontay Wilder that amount of money. He's nowhere near that at this point.
I'm saying, yeah, I understand that. It's just the idea of them letting that belt. They just let the belt go, though. Like, I don't understand it.
Well, I mean, they didn't let it go. It was forced. The belt was bought. They bought the fucking belt. They can't compete with someone that has that type of superpower and that type of money. That fucking British pounds. That's probably, I think he made 6 million pounds, come to think of it. It's like 6 million pounds. They couldn't have compete with that. Wilder wasn't a good or big enough name. He didn't have the marquee value at all. Okay, he made $800,000-$900,000 a fight. If you're going to give that shit, that's why I don't believe the $50 million bullshit. Because how are you going to give a person $50 fucking million, and what are you going to in return?
Never made over $1 million.
Yeah, well, how the fuck are you going to give that to? Because see, this is before the Tyson Fury 1 fight. So how are you going to in fact give that type of money to a fighter and disregard your own fighter's needs? That don't make sense.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, and I agree, like, $50 million, like, I don't understand how motherfuckers don't have common sense. Wilder hadn't even made, like, he was just barely making $1 million plus. Where they come up with that at?
Well, I mean, that should answer your question. Like Al Haymon, look, you have to do, he's a businessman. You have to do something on a particular budget. This isn't Manny Pacquiao. He's not fucking Floyd. He's not Adrian Broner. He's not any of those dudes. You know, and even back then, Adrian Broner had a higher marquee value than someone like Wilder. Wilder was a heavyweight that was carried along, that fought very low opposition. He was criticized by everyone else, including Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir even said he needs to fight more people. He didn't even deserve a fight with Vladimir, first of all, because based on who he fought, he didn't fight anybody. Yeah, you know, Vladimir, they used to bring them guys over, them young heavyweights, and beat the piss out of them down there in Russia or Germany, where the fuck. He used to beat the piss out of them. That's what, like, Dillian White and all of them, Joshua, they were all over there. And then Wilder was the same guy that was supposed to got knocked out by Klitschko. You know, so they already knew, if Shelly Finkel knew, I'm not going to put this young guy in there. He doesn't have the experience for somebody like Dr. fucking Steelhammer. But I'm going to match him up against that big buff fucking Brit over there, Anthony Joshua, because he'll knock him out. Well, when he didn't knock him out, he already knew. I'm not going to put Wilder in there with Joshua now because Joshua can beat Vlad. Vlad decided to retire. Vlad wasn't over with. He just knew, you know what, I gave it a good enough go. And I'm hanging up the ropes because I don't want to get into a fucking full-fledged fight like that again because it might take too much out of me as a human being. So he decided to hang it up. It was smart. That's what you call wisdom right there. When you are able to discern, you know what, I did give it a good fight. I dropped that boy in the 6th round. I beat the shit out of him. He caught me with something that I didn't see. It's time to hang up the gloves. Okay? What does that mean for Wilder? Look, speaking of Wilder, where the fuck was Wilder at? Can you tell me this, I.O.T.B.A? Where was Wilder when Vlad and Joshua was fucking duking it out? Where was he?
I forgot who he was. I forgot where he was at the time. But yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, ain't it?
Let me fill you in on something. He was right there ringside. He was commentating.
Oh, he was ringside. I remember when he came because he got into who the fuck he have a scream? Oh, who he have a screaming match with? Oh, that was what's that motherfucking Brit name who played in that fucking movie with that Rocky movie? Tony Bellew. He had that screaming match with Tony Bellew. Yeah, I remember that.
Right. Well, but see, here's the thing. What was his name mentioned? Did he give a shit? Did he call out anybody? Did he say, hey, I would like to meet these guys or fight these guys? They were calling whose name? Tyson Fury. They were calling Tyson Fury. That's what Josh, because that's what everybody was talking about. You know, so again, Wilder, that was the last time Wilder ever saw Anthony Joshua. That shit's been almost 4 years ago. I mean, in the flesh, he gave him a fist bump. I did a video on the shit. Gave him a fist bump of appreciation. But later on that year, he got back to the US of A and then start capping and talking shit. I want Joshua. Don't wait. Make the date. You could have said that shit when he took the WBA from Vlad, because, you know, they fought for the WBA, to be fair. So, you know, that was a vacant title at that time. So, I mean, he could have had full opportunity to fight him, to call him out. Like, Joshua, I want to fight you. Did he want to jump in the ring then? Fuck no, he didn't. He was there. So, I mean, look, these things, actions speak louder than words. If Deontay Wilder was that outspoken, if he was that daring, if he was that force to be reckoned with, the guy that he claimed to be when he came back, he would have done that shit right in those guys' faces. Because nobody knew Vladimir Klitschko was going to decline that fight when he lost. It was just he just decided to let it go. But he could have put his name in the hat. Wilder was purposely held back, you know, and I think it was for the obvious reasons. He was held back for those reasons, you know.
It's just crazy to me. I remember when Anthony Joshua lost to Ruiz. I could just remember Deontay Wilder celebrating, talking about, I told y'all he was a fake, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, and all this other stuff. You know, when Deontay Wilder lost, you didn't see Anthony Joshua doing nothing like that. As a matter of fact, Anthony Joshua, he said that Tyson Fury was going to beat Deontay Wilder in that second fight. I just don't get this guy, Deontay Wilder, and these excuses. I don't get him. Just him as a whole, and just the bronze bummies, you know, who just follow this guy and just will lie and put out these narratives for this dude who is really embarrassing himself in this sport of boxing. What Deontay Wilder don't understand, people, a lot, like, you may have a little people with you, but the rest of the people are really laughing at you. They really laughing, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna go back to this. He just lost one time. It's like, damn, nigga, we in this life we live. You take many falls in life, but you don't fall down and make excuses about it. You know, you get back up and you keep moving. like you stated earlier, you say you want to see what Deontay Wilder gonna be. Well, I do too, because one thing that I want to see, I want to see somebody knock this motherfucker out for Mark. My new campaign is knock him out for Mark. The way he tarnished Mark Breland's name just because of one loss, the way he threw that man's name in the dirt, trashed him, made him look like this monster. My campaign.
He didn't tarnish shit. He tried to.
He tried to.
He didn't.
Yeah, he tried to.
He tarnished his own name.
Yeah, he tried to tarnish his name. My campaign, knock him out for Mark. Knock him out for Mark. Like I said, that's why I thank Tyson Fury so much. I thank the Gypsy King. Shout out to the UK. You know, real talk, for standing down on this one. Because Deontay Wilder, don't say this. Don't put my name through the like this crazy, right? He came out with no proof, right? No proof at all. After saying all of this and all his people who were saying, oh, he's got with no proof at all, he tarnished this man's name, or tried to tarnish Tyson Fury, say he did this and that. And he expects Tyson Fury to want to fight him? Thank you, Tyson Fury. Thank you very much.
Well,
but back to Errol Spence. You made another statement earlier. And I was like, damn. The Counterpunch, I say, this right here make sense. You stated earlier that you don't think Errol Spence will ever fight Terence Crawford.
That won't happen. Look, the fight won't happen. He will not fight Terence Crawford. He won't fight Terence Crawford. It's not in the plans to fight Terence Crawford. The person that organizes Errol Spence's fights is Al Haymon. He gave you a sneak preview on the itinerary of Errol Spence. Errol Spence told Terence Crawford, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Manny Pacquiao. He didn't say my name, did he? No, he didn't. There you go. Look, Terence Crawford is not in the plans. It's not Al Haymon's fault that Terence Crawford brought his fucking skilled ass to the welterweight division. He's just wasting this motherfucking time because he's not going to fight any of those guys. He has it grandfathered. He has the whole division sold up. Okay, that's it. He ain't going to fight. Look, that I want to be wrong.
No, you know what? You're not wrong. You know what? I didn't look at it like that till you expressed that to me there. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think Errol Spence will ever fight Terence Crawford. Like,
and the more shit he talks about money and marquee value and what tickets he sold and how big he is, the farther away from a Terence Crawford fight you're going to see. See, it's easy in these days to separate yourself from a fighter. You don't have to beat him. You don't have to be better than him. You can just claim to fame how much different you are from how much money he makes versus yours. You remember back when Manny Pacquiao when Floyd used to say that about Manny Pacquiao? He was well, has he done my numbers? Has Manny Pacquiao done my numbers? Because I was the one, 2.5 pay-per-view buys than me, by myself. You know, Brian Kenny was like, no, you did that with Oscar De La Hoya. No, please. They came to see Floyd Money Mayweather. They came to see me. See, look, Errol Spence is saying that same shit. You know, but the funny thing about it is, you know, nobody ain't gonna make more money than me, so Deontay Wilder. That's all. You know, so that's what they're doing over there. You know, they're chasing. They're bringing up status because status is a distraction for talent and fights and competition. They're competing in ways of financial versus actual physical and talent.
You ain't lying, bro.
That's all that's happening. So the more you hear about Terence Crawford, where he can't sell out his whole arena. He can't sell no ticket. His last pay-per-view buys. What the fuck does that have to do with you fighting him? It has nothing to do with you fighting him at all.
Nothing. And that's the fight. That's the fight. That's the fight everybody want to see, Errol Spence. So everything he say has nothing to do with it because that's the fight. You know, it's like in this generation that we in right now, all the big mega fights getting fucked up, or we'll never see them. Or if we do see them, it'll be 10 years later when they grandfathers. Because these guys don't want to prove themselves like Oscar De La Hoya and Tito Trinidad and them used to do back in the day. It's like when you seen Fernando Vargas and Oscar De La Hoya, Tito and them, and all them fight, they was fighting each other in their 20s.
Yep.
These motherfuckers in their 30s. And they ain't even fighting, bro. This shit is right here. This is why, like, you know what's crazy? Like, these fighters act like boxing is just a major, major sport like it once used to be. Like, boxing is taking such a downfall. In 30 years, only 30, and boxing has been around for hundreds of years. Right. In only 30 years of the UFC being, they done damn near caught up with boxing.
Yeah, the progress. I mean, but see, what they did was they're giving you fights that we want to see, like fights we used to see in boxing back in the day from another era. Yeah. You mentioned Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Shane Mosley, Fernando Vargas, Felix Trinidad. You had all these particular fighters, and they were all fighting each other. I.O.T.B.A, another one, Vernon Forrest. These guys, Winky Wright, these guys fucking fought each other from 147 to 154 to 160. They fought each other. Okay, so we had enough fights. Did everybody fight? Like absolutely everybody? No. We didn't get every possible matchup, but we got so much at the time that created a standard of yesteryear. So we know what to expect. These fighters ain't doing that. Jim Brown, shout out to him. The fans today are getting shit on. Yes, they are. We are getting shit on as fans because you got these guys like Errol Spence think his shit don't stink and I'm making money. I ain't worried about none of these smoke. Okay, Crawford. I don't know what he here for. But then, yeah, he's going to show up in a fucking DAZN fight. He shows up in a DAZN fight in Corona season. Yes, I said it. In Corona season. Yeah, maybe we can fight Canelo next. What the fuck? You know what I mean? Canelo didn't ask you to come to his shit, but you're there. You see? It's about the money. You see what I mean? It's about the money. He didn't care about Terrence Crawford because if he gets beat by Terrence Crawford, it's like, well, I got beat by that motherfucker. That motherfucker beat my ass, so I can't get the Canelo fight. He wants the Canelo fight. He wants to go for broke. See, Al Haymon will allow that because it's a big enough fight. So yeah, he would let Errol Spence go on DAZN. Look, that fight has to be on DAZN. It ain't gonna be on pay-per-view, none of that shit. But he's gonna allow it for a big enough straight fee. Okay, so that fee of maybe 25 million Errol Spence will make, and that would be the highest amount of money that he's ever made. He will turn into probably a Triple G. What I mean by that is, if he fights Canelo Alvarez and it's anywhere close, he's gonna want to. I want Canelo again. He ain't gonna want to fight anyone else. What happened to Gennady Golovkin? Same shit. Gennady Golovkin. He was, I want to fight all good fighters. I want good boys. Fight all that shit. And then when he fought Canelo and got that fucking money, he didn't want to fight nobody else. He didn't want to fight Chris Eubank Jr., Jamal Charlo, Demetrius Andre. He didn't want to fight any of those guys. He wanted to fight, I want Canelo. I want drama show. You want that fucking money that you got there, fella, because you ain't used to having it. The money changed him. After that, he got rid of Abel Sanchez when he signed that DAZN deal.
Mm-hmm.
Money changes people. Okay.
You can't afford them anymore.
What's that?
I said, you know what's crazy though? Like, so that's all Earl trying to do is just cash out. It ain't, no Terrence Crawford. That's never gonna happen.
No, it's too risky. It's too risky of a fight to happen at welterweight versus another fighter of who. Okay, if not AJ, who's the biggest in the sport of boxing?
Canelo.
There you go. So why wouldn't he want a Canelo fight?
Yeah, but It's like I just don't understand the dynamics about it, because if he told Crawford you can get 70-30 or whatever we want to give you, so damn, if he fight Canelo, like, is he just gonna get 10%?
Doesn't fucking matter if the 10% is a lot more than the fucking 70% he'd be getting from Terrence Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
See, you're talking about splits, but splits out of what amount? The split out of 70-30 would probably, okay, 70% of $10 million is what? 7? Okay. You know what I mean? And Terrence gets 3 versus 25 fucking $million. There's no comparison. There ain't any. So
how's people gonna look? Because I agree with that. Now I don't think that fight gonna ever happen.
No, it's not.
I don't think it's gonna ever happen. So how's people gonna look at Errol Spence then? Like, what is this gonna be his?
Errol Spence should leave the fucking division. That's it. He needs to leave the division and allow Terrence Crawford to beat everybody else there. Errol Spence don't want it.
How the Cholos gonna feel about that though? Because he'll be stepping right on their toes, bro. Them a guy who been chasing that fight. How they gonna feel? And one of them is stablemate.
They're gonna matter. Who's his stablemate? Sean Porter?
No. Jermell Charlo is his stablemate, the 154 champion, Errol Spence stablemate.
Right.
But you know, Jamal Charlo, 160, both of them been chasing that Canelo fight. You think they gonna feel the little?
Yeah, you know that I would see a little envy in that, but what are you gonna do? You know, if Errol Spence has an opportunity to fight Canelo, let that fight be done. Let it be done. You know what I mean? Because for one, the odds are against him, which makes it an intriguing fight. Because when were the odds against Errol Spence in other fights? It wasn't. The only time they were, or 50-50, was with Terrence Crawford. Well, you don't have that fight no more. So who else, though? Danny Garcia? No. Sean Porter? No. I mean, and then, you know.
He ain't gonna never fight Keith Thurman either, is he?
No, I don't think Keith Thurman. Maybe Keith Thurman might get him he might get a good look. He'll fight Keith Thurman before he'll fight Terrence Crawford.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So that's not going to that. Don't even worry about.
You think he might pull a rabbit out the head and make Keith Thurman his next fight?
I would like that, but at the end of the day, who knows if that'll happen? Who knows if that'll happen?
I just think that's, you just stated that he'll fight Keith Thurman before he fight Terrence Crawford.
He's not going to fight Terrence Crawford. Al Haymon is not allowing a fight from fucking a top-ranked fighter over there. Because what happens, and then he beats him, then he got 3 belts. Who else has the next belt? Oh, that's right, Manny Pacquiao. And I just heard Manny Pacquiao's fighting fucking Conor McGregor for the WBA. He's putting the WBO on the line. So Manny Pacquiao is not an option like people think he is. Manny Pacquiao,
really not.
He can do what the fuck he wants to do. He's obligated his contract with Showtime, and that was a jip, because Floyd Mayweather had him thinking that they were going to fight, have this big showdown rematch. Remember, they're in Tokyo at the same time, and in fact, that was all a cover up to get Manny Pacquiao from where he was at over to Al Haymon, because as soon as
that was a chess move.
Yeah, look, he was like, oh yeah, me and Manny, we gonna have a rematch. It's gonna be millions of dollars. Let's have this fight. And as soon as Manny signed, okay, I signed the contract, Floyd. I am waiting for you, Floyd. And then it was like, I don't want to do that anymore. He's gonna have to fight my lightweight, Adrian Broner, get him. Yeah, and then he can fight Keith Thurman afterwards. And that's who he fought. So it made fucking Manny Pacquiao feel like a dumb dipshit, because he signed a contract to fight Mayweather and didn't get it.
So you think that was a clear setup from them? Yeah, they just set him up to get him.
Yeah, he should have read the contract. He should have seen Floyd money fucking Mayweather, that I will be fighting him on the contention I beat whoever that other fighter is, which was Adrian Broner. That's how that said, or that's how that was done. Okay, so it is what it is with that, man. As far as, but Errol Spence, Canelo, that's the next super fight. Let's let it be. Think of it like this. He ain't Amir Khan. He got a chin. He can fight. He's tough. He a savage, right?
Man, so I totally disagree. I don't think he stand a chance against. I think Canelo is going to dog walk Errol Spence. I don't look, and this is just being real honest in boxing. Like he is going to paint a portrait on Errol Spence. I don't think it is not. I don't even think physically, skill wise, that Errol Spence does anything better than Canelo. I mean, not nothing. And I just think that's gonna be bad. Like he gonna get paid a lot of money, but he is going to get the ass whooping of his lifetime, in my opinion. If that makes sense. No, for real, bro. Like you talk. No, for real though. Counterpunch. You talking about somebody just really getting baptized in the ring? This ass whooping he gonna get if he fight Canelo is gonna be worse than when Tyson Fury just beat the dog out of Deontay Wilder straight up. It's gonna be worse than that.
Well, I mean, but look, we still got to see it happen. We still got to see it happen.
Yeah, we do. You know? But when you look at Errol Spence and you look at Canelo, like I mean, Errol Spence is a good fighter. I give him his credit. He unified champion. But Canelo is a great fighter. It's a difference. It's you know, Meek Mill said it best. It's levels to it, and it's like even though he was whooping Danny Garcia ass was catching Earl with some good punches, and I'm like, damn, if that was Canelo, oh man, not even Canelo. If that was Crawford, because both of them guys got power. See, Canelo. That's why Canelo used to get tired a lot when he fought. He learned how to control it a lot more. And that's shout out to his trainer, Eddie Reynoso, for working on that with that, because Canelo was the type of guy who threw his speed with his power, right?
Right.
That was the velocity of his punch. And that's what used to get him tired, him hanging on the ropes, sitting right there and let somebody hit on his body. Now he done learned how to work and control through that. Man, I see this clearly being a dog walk. You hear me, Counterpunch?
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that you know what, another factor before we wrap up, Danny Garcia is a tough kid. If Errol Spence was such a devastating puncher at even at welterweight, he should have been able to stop Danny Garcia. I would have been impressed that he would have stopped Danny Garcia, because nobody's been able to do that. In fact, nobody at least dropped Garcia. So he couldn't drop Garcia. No one else has. He couldn't stop Garcia. No one else has. So on the same side of the other coin, yeah, Danny Garcia hasn't beat any welterweights, but no one has made him do something that blatant to make him look that much more defeated. So in other words, he just did the same thing everybody else done. Him along with Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. So him fighting someone like Canelo probably would eat those punches and still give him his own. But the question would be, can he take Canelo's punches, especially the body assault? And I think that's going to be the problem with Errol Spence, because when Errol Spence starts eating those left hooks to the body, because you know Canelo's like 1, 2, 3, 4 hook to the body, 1, 2, 3, 4 hook to the body. He ends most of his combinations with the body hook. And a lot of times he feints it upstairs. You keep getting hit with those fucking punches and combos like that, pretty soon you're gonna get one of those hooks you're not gonna see. Okay, so it's one of those things where Canelo and Errol Spence will be the smaller guy. He will be viewed as the heroic guy in this situation, just like Kell Brook when he went to fight Triple G, just like Mikey Garcia when he went to fight him. He would be that guy. People will look at him. People will ride his dick. He will replace Deontay Wilder if Deontay Wilder falls from grace further, okay? And everybody will jump on the Errol Spence train, especially when he has the zero. Everybody's trying to copy Mayweather the hero. So everybody's trying to be that guy. But we will see what happens. But my best guess This is, if I'm Errol Spence, get the fuck out of welterweight, skip over 154. I don't want to see you fight someone like old ass Lara. That would have been a shit fight because Lara's old. He ain't the same fighter. Now, 4 or 5 years ago, I would love to see that too. You know, but that no, I don't think that would be a good fight. But I don't put it past Al if that was going to happen. He might stop in 154 to take out someone like Errol, like Lara. But then Lara would be that guy that, you know, give me my last check before Errol Spence beats the piss out of me because I'm just too old to compete with this young buck. But he should go there to Triple G. She should fight the zone. He should fight Triple G on the zone. If he beats Triple G, then he gets the Canelo Alvarez fight. So I think that would be a great itinerary for Errol Spence if he was going to go that route, especially with the zone. You know, they want to build you up on that platform before giving you a bigger fight, just like they wanted to do with Deontay Wilder back when they wanted to give him all that fucking money to fight AJ. You understand? So
no, I totally agree. I just think that the way you said it, that's the right path to go. But if he was possibly to make it past Triple G to the Canelo fight, I just think, you know, his style is the perfect style for Canelo because Earl is stationary. People know Earl like to sit down on his punches. That's the type of training form that Derrick James, his coach, implements into his fighters. You can look at Jermell Charlo. That's why you seen Jermell Charlo knocking out more of his opponents because he learned how to sit down and turn his punches. But when you said about Earl Spence, this is the last thing about him not being able to knock Danny Garcia. I always told people Earl Spence is just a physically strong person. When it came to people talking about Earl Spence power versus Terrence Crawford power, it's no match because Terrence Crawford has power in both of his hands. Earl Spence is just a physically strong guy who like to physically wear you down as the rounds go on. But that's my final thoughts on that.
Nice. Well, I.O.T.B.A, man, if you guys on the chat, if you don't know who I.O.T.B.A is, I'm on that bullshit again, boxing. Go over there and subscribe to his channel. Bro, it's been an honor. Thank you for coming on. You know, I told him about your huge Facebook following over there. So if you guys are Facebookers, go on over there, which, I mean, we all started there at one point. And that's why we are here. So the migration has been the truth. So, but anyway.
Shout out to everybody that's on Counterpunch Boxing, man. Like, real talk, shout out to my dog, Kurt, because he one of the big dogs in this boxing thing, too, because we all started the grind 5 years ago, you know, and everybody, you know, who stayed with it, still doing their thing, and they done made themselves a force. Shout out to all the chat. You know, y'all show major love on her. Y'all contribute to his channel. Like he said, if y'all like to, come subscribe to me on I.O.T.B.A on YouTube. Come check out the Facebook group, same name. I appreciate that, Kurt.
Hey, no problem. And everybody on the chat, you guys been counterpunched. Be safe out here and have a great day. Peace.